I went to Europe to do my spaghetti western, and before I left, I'd done a series of commercials for Nestle's Quick, in which I played.
In 1967, Adam West put on his Batman costume one last time for a secret project. He filmed something in London that disappeared for over 50 years. No American fan had ever seen it. Not even the biggest Batman collectors knew it existed. The footage was locked away in British archives, forgotten by everyone. Then in 2018, someone found it during a search for lost TV history. What Adam West said in that missing scene shocked viewers. The discovery proved that even the most famous superheroes can hide dark secrets. In 1964, Ed Graham Productions picked up the rights to develop a Batman TV series. The idea was to make a straightforward Saturday morning adventure, something in the style of the Adventures of Superman that CBS had aired for children back in the 1950s. The plan was to cast Mike Henry, an NFL linebacker who later became Tarzan, as the first live-action Batman on television. By 1965, CBS was close to signing the deal, but weeks of talk stalled. The network never picked up the show. If it had gone through, Batman might have ended up as a tame children's program, which could have crushed the character's place in pop culture for years to come. Henry soon left the project to play Tarzan, and the whole plan collapsed just before filming was set to begin. That failure meant the world never saw a Saturday morning Batman. But it also cleared the way for the prime-time version that later took the world by storm. That same year, something unexpected happened at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion in Chicago. Hefner decided to screen all 15 episodes of the old 1943 Batman serial. The gathering was filled with celebrities and socialites. At first, it looked like nothing more than a nostalgic party, but it set off a cultural reaction that no one had predicted. Guests dressed up, shouted at the screen, booed the villain, and cheered during the action. The New York Times and other outlets covered the screenings, noting the wild atmosphere. Suddenly, Hollywood executives began to see Batman in a new light. The old serial, once forgotten, had become trendy again. Hefner's party showed that people were willing to embrace Batman's over-the-top style as entertainment. Without that event, the character might have stayed locked away in dusty film reels. In 1965, Columbia Pictures took advantage of the buzz and recut the 1943 serial into a single 4.5-hour film called An Evening with Batman and Robin. It premiered at the Playboy Theater in Chicago and quickly spread to R2 cinemas and college towns. Crowds poured in, with theaters selling out midnight showings and concessions hitting record sales. Some theaters even split the screenings over 2 days, with 7 chapters on Saturday and 8 on Sunday. Reports described lines stretching around the block, with fans showing up in costume. The success stunned Columbia executives and also caught the attention of ABC. The numbers told the story clearly. Batman could draw huge audiences. Those ticket sales and headlines convinced the network that a live-action Batman show could be a major hit. Around this time, Yale Udolph, a young executive at ABC, stepped into the spotlight. Udolph had been a Batman fan since he was a child, and after seeing the audience reaction in Chicago, he believed more than ever that the character belonged on television. He began pushing the idea at every meeting, even shouting, "We ought to do Batman," at his bosses. At first, they laughed him off, but Udolph refused to stop. He wrote a full proposal for a stylish series that mixed elements from James Bond and the Man from UNLE. His persistence became legendary. Some ABC executives even admitted they started reading Batman comics in secret, hiding them inside business magazines on cross-country flights. In the end, Udolph's determination played a key role in convincing ABC to take the gamble. When William Dozier was hired as the producer in 1966, he admitted something surprising. He had never read a comic book before. When he finally picked up a few Batman issues for research, he found them so strange that he decided the material couldn't be taken seriously at all. Gadgets like shark repellent bat spray and storylines about Batman surfing against the Joker convinced him that the only way forward was comedy. Rather than copying the comics directly, he chose to make the show a campy parody. It was a bold choice at a time when American culture was already filled with satire. From Andy Warhol's art to Lichtenstein's comic-inspired paintings, the result was unlike anything on television. Bright costumes, exaggerated villains, and words like POW and BAM flashing across the screen defined the style. Dozier's approach worked. When Batman premiered in January 1966, it became an instant sensation. Not everyone supported Dozier's vision. The famous espionage novelist Eric Amler had originally been hired to write a feature-length Batman movie to launch the series. But as soon as he learned that Dozier planned to turn the character into a pop art comedy, he walked away from the project. Known for serious thrillers, Amler wanted nothing to do with satire. His sudden exit showed just how unusual Dozier's idea was. Hollywood rarely saw a writer abandon such a big assignment simply because he disagreed with the direction. Casting was another turning point. In 1965, 2 full-screen tests were filmed. One featured Adam West and Burt Ward. The other starred Lyle Wagner as Batman and Peter Dial as Robin. Wagner was the safer choice. He was already known in Hollywood and had the look executives expected. West, however, was almost unknown. When the test footage was compared side by side, it was West and Ward who captured the quirky, campy energy Dozier wanted. The studio decided to take the risk, turning down the more established star. Wagner went on to succeed in other shows, including The Carol Burnett Show and Wonder Woman. But it was West and Ward who brought Batman and Robin to life in a way no one else could. Adam West's path to the role was especially unlikely. He had caught the producers' attention through a Nestle Quick commercial. His deadpan delivery in that ad showed he could deliver outrageous lines with a straight face. Dozier immediately recognized that this was exactly the tone the show needed. West signed his contract on September 21, 1965, beating out bigger names simply because he could make Batman seem both serious and funny at the same time. That unique mix made his performance unforgettable. Burt Ward, meanwhile, was cast as Robin in 1966. At the time, he was 20 years old, although the character was written as a teenager in high school. Ward's youthful appearance convinced audiences he was closer to 15 or 16. Behind the scenes, he performed his own stunts, which landed him the hospital 4 times in his first 5 days of filming. The injuries showed how much he threw himself into the role. Fans debated his real age for years, but his energy and athleticism sold the character perfectly. Supporting the 2 leads were experienced stage actors who added weight to the show. Alan Napier, born in 1903 and related to former British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, played Alfred. Trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, Napier had been performing since the 1920s and was 63 when he joined Batman in 1966. Neil Hamilton, who played Commissioner Gordon, brought with him a long history from silent films and stage plays. Their backgrounds helped ground the show, giving a sense of seriousness that balanced the colorful chaos around them. In 1954, a psychiatrist named Frederick Wareham published a book called Seduction of the Innocent. In it, he made a claim that shocked readers and quickly spread across America. Wareham said that Batman's stories were psychologically homosexual. He pointed to the fact that Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson lived together, had no women in their home, and was sometimes shown relaxing side by side. He even cited cases of boys, telling him they wished they could live with Bruce Wayne. Wareham went so far as to call the comic a wish dream of 2 homosexuals living together. His ideas connected with the wider fears of the 1950s during the height of what was known as the Lavender Scare. The accusation didn't disappear after the book. It lingered for years and cast a long shadow over Batman. By the 1960s, when the Batman TV series became a cultural phenomenon, producers and actors still worried that any detail in the show might bring the controversy back. Even dialogue, costumes, or storylines were carefully watched, making Batman one of the most closely analyzed children's shows of its time for hidden social meaning. The tension broke into the open in 1967 when a magazine called TV Radio Album ran an article titled The Whisper Campaign Against Batman and Robin. It was only 2 pages long with the rest of the spread filled with photos of the costumed heroes. But its words carried weight. For the first time, a mainstream publication discussed the rumors about Batman and Robin's relationship and about the actors Adam West and Burt Ward. Though the article denied the claims, it also made sly comparisons. One line read, "Though both of them must have heard the whispers like Liberace some years ago, they are doubtless laughing all the way to the bank." The remark was a nod to the famous pianist Liberace, who in the 1950s had sued newspapers for implying he was gay and had once joked that he cried all the way to the bank after winning damages of $8,000, about $22,000 at the time. By referencing him, the magazine fed the rumors while pretending to dismiss them. It showed how deeply the whispers had grown, turning into a public flashpoint for debates about sexuality in television in that era. The comparisons to Liberace were not casual. They revealed how coded language and sly allusions allowed writers to raise the subject without making direct accusations. The TV Radio album article leaned into this technique, knowing readers would connect the dots. The piece suggested that, like Liberace, the Batman stars were in on the joke, enjoying their fame while ignoring the gossip. But for the producers of the show, the rumors were no joke. They feared that the idea of a homosexual atmosphere around the series could drive away sponsors and the family audience. ABC executives quickly stepped in. Their solution was to rewrite parts of the show to make Batman's attraction to women more obvious. One striking example came in a scene where Batman tells Robin that his interest in pretty supervillainess was due to the first oncoming thrusts of manhood. The line was heavy-handed, but it was deliberate. From then on, the scripts often included Batman showing interest in women, even if it felt unnatural for the campy style of the series. It was a calculated move to reassure the audience and sponsors that the Caped Crusader was safely heterosexual. The campaign didn't stop with the scripts. Behind the scenes, the studio launched a publicity drive to present Adam West and Burt Ward as undeniably masculine. Magazines and press kits showcased them practicing karate, talking about their marriages, or showing off their children. Even their workouts and hobbies were framed as proof of manliness. The effort was almost desperate, but it reflected how much pressure was on the actors and the network. A simple rumor in the 1960s could threaten not just a star's reputation, but the success of an entire series. Meanwhile, the show itself began to face problems that had nothing to do with rumors. In January 1966, Batman exploded onto television screens and was an instant sensation. At its peak in February, it was watched in 14 million homes, grabbing an astonishing 42% of the viewing audience. But the excitement didn't last. By March 1966, the Wednesday night episodes had dropped so much that they barely stayed in the weekly top 20. ABC memos at the time admitted that the novelty was wearing off and that the formula was already starting to feel repetitive. The phrase Batman fatigue began making the rounds. By the summer of 1966, the decline had turned into a collapse. Just months earlier, Batman had been one of the most popular shows in the country. But an Associated Press article on August 11th reported that ratings had taken a sharp decline and Batman no longer appeared on the list of top-rated programs. Merchandise was still selling well, but the viewers were gone. Networks had expected some drop in the summer months, but this was far steeper than usual. The craze that had influenced fashion and slang was already fading into the past. The Batman movie, released in 1966, was supposed to revive the excitement. The studio poured money into promotion and expected a major hit. Instead, the film earned only $1.7 million at the box office. It performed at 122% of a normal film in 20 key cities, but studio experts had expected closer to 200% for a true hit. Merchandise sales stayed strong, but the movie itself failed to make a profit. The letdown shocked both 20th Century Fox and ABC, who had counted on the film to extend the life of the franchise. When the second season began in September 1966, the ratings told a grim story. Batman averaged in 34th place across all shows on television, a devastating drop from its top 5 position earlier that year. Some episodes even slid into the 40s in the rankings. Adding new villains like the Archer and Catwoman didn't help. The numbers made it clear that the magic had faded and cast members openly worried that cancellation was coming. The most surprising piece of so-called banned Batman content from the 1966 era wasn't an American TV episode at all. It came from London in May 1967 when Adam West stepped into his Batman costume to film a road safety message for British children. For more than 50 years, no one had seen this footage. Not even the most devoted American Batman fans knew it existed. The film was finally brought back to light in 2018 when the archive group Kaleidoscope discovered it during a campaign to recover the United Kingdom's top 100 missing television clips. Until then, it had never been screened outside Britain, and most assumed it was lost forever. When the public finally saw it in 2018, it felt like uncovering a hidden treasure from both superhero and British cultural history. In the clip, Batman uses his fame to teach children the curb drill, Britain's version of road safety rules. Standing on a quiet street, Adam West warns children about the deadly daily danger they face when crossing the road. He demonstrates the steps with calm authority. Stop at the curb, look right, look left, look right again, and only cross when it's safe. He stays fully in character as Batman, blending the American superhero image with British safety advice in a way no other actor has ever done. For decades, the film remained unknown, making its 2018 rediscovery a powerful reminder that even the biggest franchises can lose pieces of their history. The first public showing took place on April 14, 2018 at Birmingham City University. The screening marked the beginning of Kaleidoscope's nationwide search for 100 lost television gems, including episodes of Doctor Who and The Avengers. The event drew both professionals and longtime fans, many of whom were stunned to learn that Batman had once starred in a forgotten road safety film. The rediscovery proved how much important media still lies hidden in archives and private collections, waiting to be found. Another piece of Batman history that puzzled fans involved the singer Leslie Gore. She appeared as Catwoman's sidekick, Pussycat, in the two-part episode Scat Dawn Catwoman, which aired on January 25, 1967. During the story, she performed two songs, California Nights and Maybe Now. While California Nights remained, Maybe Now vanished from American reruns for reasons no one has ever explained. The song had been written with her brother, Michael Gore, and released as the B-side of her single, Treat Me Like a Lady. Although some print and foreign broadcasts still included it, American cable reruns and MeTV airings cut the performance. Many viewers never knew it existed, turning the missing number into one of the show's oddest mysteries. There was also a controversial moment involving Commissioner Gordon. In one version of the show, Batman takes him into the Batcave where Alfred uses Bat sleep spray to knock him unconscious so he will forget seeing the hero's secret identities. Some syndications trimmed this scene or removed the gassing entirely as producers worried about showing a police commissioner being drugged, even in a campy context. Other versions downplayed Gordon's presence in the Batcave altogether. The edits showed how even light-hearted television had to watch its boundaries, especially with millions of children watching. Not all the unusual stories from the Batman era came from the screen. In the late 1960s, Adam West was banned from Aspen, Colorado for 15 years after a notorious party spiraled out of control. He later admitted liquor, yes. Women, yes. Police, yes. Rumors at the time described him as a Hollywood hellraiser. Some claimed the ban stemmed from noise complaints and property damage, though no criminal charges were ever filed. Exactly 15 years later, West received a letter from Aspen officials confirming he could return. The episode cemented his reputation as more than just a television superhero. Off-camera, West and Burt Ward became just as famous for their nightlife as they were for fighting Gotham's villains. Ward later admitted that they often encountered eager fans while still wearing their costumes. In his autobiography, he described encounters that shocked readers and embarrassed the show's producers. He even claimed he once escaped a jealous husband by leaping from a motel window into the mud. These tales added to the rumors swirling around the stars, while West himself argued that Ward exaggerated many of them. Still, the gossip strained their working relationship and worried network executives who feared the show's family-friendly image could be damaged. Even their co-stars added to the show's legend. Cesar Romero, who played the Joker, famously refused to shave his mustache. Instead, the makeup team covered it with thick white paint for all 120 episodes in the 1966 film. The faint outline is still visible in close-ups, making Romero's Joker unforgettable. What started as a personal vanity became one of the most talked-about quirks in the entire Batman franchise. Behind the scenes, the cast often lived as wildly as their on-screen characters. According to both West and Ward, their success led to endless parties filled with late nights, alcohol, and constant attention. These gatherings sometimes lasted until dawn, leaving actors tired during filming and forcing makeup crews to work extra hard to keep them looking fresh. Account from the time confirmed that the off-camera chaos occasionally rivaled the outlandish adventures that aired each week. The Batman of the 1960s remains remembered not just for its colorful action and campy humor, but also for the countless hidden stories that surrounded it. In 1966, the legendary science fiction writer Harlan Ellison was asked to pitch an episode for the Batman TV show. He chose to bring in the tragic villain Two-Face, a character who had never been seen on the series, even though he was one of Batman's most famous enemies. Ellison called his story The Two-Way Crimes of Two-Face. It fit the show's playful, campy style, but also carried a darker edge that made it stand out. At one point, actor Clint Eastwood was even discussed for the role, which would have added enormous star power to the series. But Ellison's pitch arrived on the same day. A key executive at ABC was leaving the network. Because of that timing and the politics behind the scenes, the script was rejected. The idea stayed buried in Ellison's files for nearly 50 years. It wasn't until 2014 that DC finally adapted it into a comic called Batman 66, The Lost Episode, giving fans a glimpse of what could have been. The show also invested heavily in creating the Batbow for both the TV series and its 1966 movie. The custom boat was built by Glastron and loaded with gadgets meant to dazzle viewers. It made its first appearance in the film, but the cost of filming on water was shocking. Each scene required special equipment, more crew, and extra safety measures, often adding thousands of dollars per shoot. Because of the cost, producers used the Batbow only sparingly, and soon it was locked away in storage. For fans, it became almost mythical, a reminder of how tight budgets forced the show to cut back on some of its most exciting ideas. By the third season in 1968, Batman's ratings had collapsed. ABC can-led the show abruptly, but just as hope seemed gone, NBC showed interest in saving it with a fourth season. Then a stunning mistake was revealed. The producers had already bulldozed the sets, including the Batcave, Wayne Manor, and Commissioner Gordon's office. The cost to rebuild them was estimated at several hundred $000, equal to more than $2 million today. When NBC learned of this, they dropped the idea. What could have been a rescue for the series ended in what is now remembered as one of television's most expensive production blunders. For years, fans believed NBC had seriously planned a fourth season, but official records tell a different story. Ratings had already hit their lowest point, and the budget was running at a loss. Only 17 episodes were ordered for the third season, and costly features like the Batbow were either dropped or rarely used. Once the sets were destroyed, the expense of rebuilding them was too high for 1968 television. Beyond a brief inquiry, NBC never moved forward. The idea of a lost fourth season remains more of a legend than reality, with documents showing it was financially impossible from the start. While Batman was still popular, producers had explored spin-offs. One was a Batgirl series, and a pilot was even filmed, though she ended up being added to the main show instead. Other ideas included a show for Robin and even one that would highlight other DC heroes, a kind of early Justice League. Some of these projects made it to the pitch stage with concept art and network discussions. But when Batman collapsed in its third season and the sets were destroyed, every spin-off was canceled. Some were dropped just days before casting was set to begin. Network memos from 1967 and 1968 confirm that the end of Batman also meant the end of any chance to build a larger superhero universe.